Thank you. Again, I'm Noah with Unsupervised. This is Tyler Willis, my co-founder. Thank you all for having us here today. We're going to talk about something a little bit different here. So we are an artificial intelligence company, and we do something pretty different there. We're an AI that goes through all of the data that you have in your organization, pulls out the patterns every day that matters, and puts them in front of your people proactively. So what that means is your team is actually spending their time acting on what's happening in your business and improving the business, not waiting around for reports to come out. Now, that also makes me the required AI guy that every conference is supposed to have, of course. And so this is the part where I'm supposed to go, data is the most important thing that you have. It's the new oil. It's amazing. And it's not. The most important thing that you have is human minds. It's the teams that you've built over decades who have amazing things in their heads. They understand your customers. They have context about the business. They know the technology. They know so many things that you could never program into a machine. I don't care what any vendor tells you. Those people are the most amazing thing in your business. But they're not perfect. They can't do everything. Specifically, what they can't do, what we weren't evolved to do, is look at giant sets of numbers and try to guess where there's a pattern amongst literally millions of columns of data. What they're good at is when you have an insight that comes from somewhere like that data, they can do things with that. So if you were to go back to your offices and say, we figured out that our customers need an offering that is more optimized for gaming, think about what would happen with that. Your technical teams could come up with better product ideas, better hardware ideas, better service ideas, packaging for that, marketing. They could come up with so many ideas and be so brilliant once they know what they need to do. What they can't do is this. They can't start from this and figure out what's going on in it. It's not what they're meant to do. So let's use a real example of this. I'm sure a lot of people in this room have had this experience of coming in on Monday morning and you've got some BI dashboard somewhere that has a chart like this, where some key metric has gone awry. In this case, it's support call volume to your call centers. So there's been a big spike in this. That's bad. We know that's bad. We want to do something about this. Well, this doesn't tell us what to do about it. We just know there's a problem. We don't know where the problem is. So we call the analyst team. And this is where they start. Now, they've got tools like Tableau and things like that, but what they're fundamentally doing is they're guessing which of the columns might be related to the problem that's being seen. So they start guessing, they start charting things up, and eventually maybe they get to some answer a couple weeks after you sent the request of, well, Denver, there's a lot more calls in Denver. That's our problem, Denver. OK, well, fine, that gives me something, but that's not a real answer. So let's try our new data scientists. We've been building up those teams. They'll clearly do something wonderful for us. It's the same thing. With supervised machine learning, which is what they use, they're still guessing at the columns. It's just instead of using Tableau, they're using Python. They're now using algorithms instead of charts. But at the end of the day, they're still the ones who are guessing where there's a pattern to look at. It's still being driven by humans guessing in the dark. Humans are good at this. They're not good at that. And it's getting worse. We're collecting more and more data every day. Every part of our divisions is collecting more. But more importantly, we all understand now that it's not just one division's data that matters. You can't look at support in isolation. You need to be looking at what's going on with their account, the service tickets with it, the payment, the hardware. You need to understand all of that. And as you start joining more and more data sets, you're getting exponential growth on this. Just adding a single column to a data set with 10 options to it is 10xing the number of possible patterns in that data. Humans can't keep up with that. BI tools are not going to help you fix that. Supervised machine learning is not going to help you fix that. Unsupervised can help. And it's because instead of starting you with this, we start you with this. So what you're seeing here is not your data in some light form. It's not another chart. It's not more BI. It's not anything like that. This is the insights coming out of your data. So the first box you see there is called overall. This is the same thing you're seeing in BI. This is overall what happened in this time period. And you can see support calls week over week are up 6.4%. Again, the same thing you saw before, but it's being given to you here as context. Now, if you look at the other patterns that are showing here, these are what the AI has found. And again, this is across account data, transcripts of the calls, which are free-form text, support data. All of these different sources are all playing into this. So the first pattern we see here, the transcript includes the phrases drops Wi-Fi and Roku. And then the second aspect of it is the hardware that they have is this particular router model. Now, I can't tell you exactly what went wrong. This is not an oracle that knows all. But this is what lets your people be brilliant. This is something that is specific. You can send this to your hardware team and say, something's going on. Roku updated something. We pushed a bad patch. Something has changed. This is where to start. So suddenly, literally Monday morning, you're walking in and you're seeing 10% of the problem that I had crop up last week is from this one thing, and I know where to start with this. I know how to engage that human brilliance to solve this. Now, the second pattern, totally different. You notice the filters on this are non-overlapping, totally different. So these are people who speak Spanish. They had one particular installer who worked on their accounts, Denver network experts, and they're all new accounts. We saw that in the numeric data that these all were between 0 and 17 days old. Now, again, this could be lots of things. It could be an installer who just doesn't deal well with people who aren't native English speakers. It could be that he's not remembering to take all of the handouts that you guys have made that includes instructions for other languages. It could be all sorts of things. But again, you send this to whoever heads install for Denver, and they can fix it. And it's getting fixed that day, not weeks or months later when you've got angry customers and lost revenue. Now, these are just a couple of examples. There's actually a bunch of patterns that are being pulled out in this. But this is what happens. The AI finds what matters. Now, this is an example from one industry, or rather from one use case. This is around support calls. Now, we do this across many different areas. We do this for your finance group. We do this for your support group. We do this for your product teams. We do this for every part of your organization. And what's so magical about that is we can be pulling all of that data from all of those systems, having a complete view of your customer, and pulling out what matters. And that means that you have people out of the business of looking at data, and instead you're doing this. You're empowering your people. So this is all real. We are doing this today. We are live in production at Fortune 500 companies. We are talking to a lot of people in this room already about how this changes their business. And let me just say, that's my favorite part of the job. When we actually get the data in, when we start pulling out these insights, and when we start showing them to people in all of those departments, the software becomes transparent. People start talking about the patterns in it, going, I get what's happening here. This makes sense. We could do X. We could do Y. Oh, no, we should do Z. People start having those discussions, and you see that brilliance. And that's what's amazing about my job, seeing what people can do. So if you want to see what your people can do when they're no longer reacting to things that are months out of date, and instead they're walking in with the key insights about the business every Monday, please reach out to me. Thank you all.